Okay, so we are discussing today on the topic of karma. And to understand the relevance of this topic, first of all, the importance of understanding this topic, I'd like to begin with a thought exercise. Suppose you went for a cricket match, to watch a cricket match, and you saw there are two teams over there. But one team has a starting score of 200, the other team has a score of just 0. Now, you wonder why the difference in the two scores. So there could be three possible explanations. One is the scoreboard works by chance. The other is the scorekeeper is biased. And is there any other explanation? We'll think about that later. So similarly, if we look at life, we see that all of us start with different starting points. We all start our life with birth chronologically at the same point. But some people are born wealthy, some people are born poor, some people are born with great looks, some people are born with mediocre looks, some people are born with phenomenal memories, others with ordinary memories. And things like this, wealth, looks, memory, they do play a substantial role in one's future success. So, an objective, critical look at life would make it seem that there's a lot of discrimination in the starting points we get in life. Now, what could be the reason for this? As one thing is what we have got, we have to live with it. But if you could make more sense of it, then it would be easier to accept it and easier to live accordingly. So, is there any way we can make sense of the inequities of life? So, the same three probabilities, I have not mentioned specifically third alternative, I'll come to that. But if we apply these three alternatives, the first would be that the way we are born, the way we start our life, that is determined by chance. Some people are lucky, some people are unlucky. So, this is the materialistic worldview, where the idea is that we are nothing more than the product of our genes. And somehow the genes come to life, and some people are born in good families, some people in not so good situations. So now if we accept this chance worldview, then there are several consequences. As I said, the chance worldview holds what we are is the result of the chance interaction of natural forces. Certain molecules came together, somehow they came to life. And then another aspect of this worldview is one shot at living is all that we get. This is the only life that we have. And at the end, existence will end and we will just dissolve back into the molecules of which we are made. So existence is just some flash between two infinities of nothingness. Before birth, we did not exist. After that, we do not exist. And somehow, for a certain period of time, we exist and then we perish. And during the short lifetime that we have, we are successes if we mine the maximum enjoyment from our brief lifetimes. And because the whole worldview is materialistic, so the only enjoyment is materialistic enjoyment. But even if we talk about material enjoyment, whether it is wealth or looks or power or prestige or learning, whatever, the material starting point makes a huge difference. So this is the aspects of the worldview. And what are the consequences of this worldview? It makes the unlucky feel wronged and helpless. Those who are born poor, why should I be born poor? They feel unlucky. And there's no more explanation. It's just your bad luck. What can you do? And it makes them feel helpless. Because not only the differences that we see in life situations are not just at the starting point of life. Even during the course of life, some people seem to have a healthy life. Some people just keep falling sick again and again. Some people live relatively peaceful lives. Others seem to be always prone to accidents. So we see this difference throughout our life. And that's why a person who accepts the idea of chance will live constantly in insecurity. Oh, what may go wrong? What may go wrong? It's a doctrine that reduces life to helplessness. It makes even the lucky feel insecure. Because I may be lucky right now, but if things happen by chance, any moment anything can go wrong. And then whatever I have, I may lose it. And it is unappealing because it violates our intuitive sense of order and justice. We all feel that there is some order in life. We want some order in life. I'll talk about this topic more, about the sense of order. But whenever something happens, if say your child comes home with a poor grade, you will ask, what happened? Did you not study? Did you forget at the time of exam? Were you not well? Now, whenever we see some effect, we intuitively assume that there is a cause. And we try to make a correlation between the cause and effect by which we make sense of life. But this is unappealing because the chance worldview says there is no cause and effect. And it's disempowering because it just makes one feel powerless. Now, the alternative to this worldview, this is a worldview that everything happens by chance and we are just products of matter. One alternative so this is correlating with the scoreboard working by chance. So now the second alternative was the scorekeeper is biased. So the alternative worldview is that there is a God and God arranges the starting points. So God arranges that some people are born wealthy, some people are born poor. So this is divine caprice. Caprice means arbitrary will. So this is the worldview that is held by many of the mainstream religions of the world, especially the Abrahamic religions. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they hold roughly this worldview. My purpose here is not to criticize any religion, but we are trying to comparatively understand which worldview can help us to make sense. So although there are references to karma and other things which I'll build up, but the mainstream version of these religions have this idea that everything happens by God's will and one life is all that we have. So why are there inequities in life? Yes, they are God's tests. If God is, yes, some people are born poor, that's how they're being tested. Some people go through sickness, God is testing them. Yes, that is fine. God can test us. But the problem with life's inequities is not the test itself. It is the differential testing. That means that if a teacher conducts a class and after that has the exam, and the teacher gives different papers to different students. Some students get very easy papers, some students get very difficult papers. Then the student's question will not be, why is there an exam? The question will be, why are there different exams for different people? So if we say that life's inequities, life's problems are God's tests, and the question comes, why does God test different people differently? And often the answer to this is, God's will cannot be understood. God's justice is different from our justice. Yes, that may be true. God's will cannot be understood. God's justice is different from our justice. But if God is greater than us, then God's justice should be better than ours, not worse than ours. So if God is arbitrarily assigning different situations to different people, then that makes God seem capricious. Who would want to love a God who is so utterly arbitrary in doing whatever he wants with whoever he wants? So many thoughtful people, if these are the only two options that they have, either to believe in chance or to believe in an arbitrary God, many people would prefer atheism. Why? Because how can one devote oneself to a God who is arbitrary? So it is not that atheism offers explanations, but it offers a less unappealing explanation than this kind of theistic explanation. Now, Abraham Lincoln said about democracy, he said, democracy is a terrible form of government, but it is the best among all terrible forms of government. So it becomes like the best among the worst. It neither is satisfactory. If you look at the theistic version, where God is added without any further explanation of life. This is like, as I said, the scorekeeper being biased. Now, if one team has got a starting score of 0, another has got a starting score of 200, there is a third possible explanation. The third explanation is that it is not a one-day match. It is a test match. And it is a second innings going on. So one team has got a lead. And that's why it has got a particular score. So that is the worldview that is based on karma and reincarnation. Multi-life progression through karma and reincarnation. So the scores are different not because the scoreboard works by chance or the scorekeeper is biased, but because each team has scored a particular number of runs in the previous innings. So like that, our starting points are determined as per the karma and reincarnation worldview, not by any arbitrary chance or any arbitrary God. They are determined by our own past actions. Some of us have done good. Accordingly, we have got some results. Some of us have more good than others. Some of us have done less good than others. And accordingly, we get different starting points. So, now what is this also brings a purpose to life. And I will talk about this purpose more in detail. But the purpose is self-education. We are meant to learn how to make healthy choices. And life is a university where as we learn to make wise choices, we progress onwards towards better and better conditions. From this life to the next life and onwards. So now, as this topic is primarily on karma, I will not go into reincarnation much, although I'll give you some logical and scientific pointers towards reincarnation at the end. I'll focus primarily on karma and whether karma makes sense. So this is at one level, we can say at a broad picture of life, among the three, karma seems to make the most sense. But the idea of karma has its own questions. So we'll discuss some of the questions now. So what exactly is karma? Now, at a very basic level, karma is a broader application of Newton's law of motion. Newton's law that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So now interestingly, that science progresses not just by observation. Science progresses by questioning observations. Now, millions of people had seen apples falling. Most of them would just picked the apple, eaten it, and gone away. But Newton saw the apple falling and he thought, why did it fall? So similarly, the inequities in life are seen by everyone. But most people just accept it reluctantly, resentfully, or unthinkingly and move on with life. But some people think about it, ask questions about it, and then they can get answers. So just as there is a correlation between an action-reaction within the realm of physics, similarly, in broad life also, there is correlation. And this correlation is more complex because Newton's law talks about only the interaction of physical objects. Whereas, when we talk about karma, it involves the action of conscious beings who make moral choices, who do certain things which are right or wrong, or which are less right or more right. So there are much more complexities involved over here. But the broad principle is similar. So so Newton's law is like a subset within the principle of karma. Now, if we look at karma further, what goes around comes around. Now, if we see, all of nature obeys laws. Why should humans be exceptions? What science has discovered, as it has progressed more and more, is that there is order in the universe, from the microscopic to the macroscopic level. And even when scientists are not able to find order, for example, at the start of the 20th century, Kelvin was one of the pioneering scientists, and he said, now with the development of classical physics as given by Newton and further developed by subsequent researchers, now we have understood everything that is there to understand. For future generations of physicists, there will be no work to do. But just 20 years later, the whole Newtonian classical physics had practically come crumbling down, because there were developments in quantum physics and there were developments in relativity. So now, quantum physics is very, very difficult to understand, in the sense that things don't make logical sense. So Einstein was so upset with quantum physics. Einstein championed relativity, and he was so upset with quantum physics, all based on probability. So he said, God does not play dice with the universe. And then Niels Bohr replied, don't tell God what he can or cannot do. So the point is that, again, when scientists observe something which doesn't make sense, they don't abandon it as senseless. They persevere to find some deeper order in it. So initially, the observations that we make with our naked eye, Newtonian physics could explain that. But as science penetrated into microscopic realm or macroscopic realm, in both ways, Newtonian physics stopped working. Then scientists did not think that, everything is disorderly. Science progresses by the assumption that there is some order, and if we just investigate deeper, we will also find that order. So the study of karma also progresses by a similar assumption. Even when there seems to be disorder, it's just that we have not probed the matter deeper. If we probe the matter deeper, we will be able to find an order. So, as all of nature obeys laws, then why should humans be an exception? Is it that humans can behave arbitrarily and there are no consequences of that? We see the law of karma is impartial and inexorable. So as it is said, we can never break God's laws. We can only break ourselves against God's laws. What this means is, say somebody jumps from a 10-story building and says, I don't believe in the law of gravity. Well, gravity is going to act irrespective of whether one believes in it or not. Similarly, the laws of nature, and karma is also a law of nature, it is going to act. So the logic of karma, as I give the example, there is cause and effect everywhere. Now, whenever we see an effect, we inquire a cause. Suppose, a friend is playing, so some children are playing, and one of them comes back home and has got a burn on the hand. And immediately, the other friends will ask, the relatives will ask, parents, what happened? What this means is, when we see an effect, a burn mark, we presume that there must be a cause to it. And that is how we make sense. All of life, whether it is day-to-day life or scientific research, we presume that whenever there is an effect, there must be a cause. So cause-effect correlation is a foundational principle with which we operate in this world. And that way, if we look at it from a further theistic worldview, we train our subordinates by reward and punishment. Now, if children study well and they get good grades, parents will reward them. If the children are very unruly and undisciplined, and the parents may discipline them. So, reward and punishment is a normal human way by which training happens. And the same principle, would God not apply that? So now, logically, we will see that karma gels with our sense of order. It gels with the way we normally behave. And if God were the supreme parent, the way we would expect him to behave.